Okay, I think we're about ready. At least you're ready. Everybody hear me okay? Great. Let's start with a moment of silence. Thank you. I just have a few opening comments before we get into the real substance of this meeting, which is get detailed updates from our core leadership team and our staff. First of all, the resident council did have its second meeting, and personally, I think all of us, all seven of us, are very pleased with how things are developing. I would strongly urge you to read the minutes of the resident council meeting, which is published on Kendall Connect, as well as physically located on the Alcove bulletin board. In addition, we identified 20 key tasks that had to be done by the resident council, some annually, some monthly, and some in between, and we divided that up. And that list is also in the Alcove paper form and also under resident council committees on Kendall Connect. What that will allow you to do is sort of identify who you might go to on the resident council if you have a question or more particularly a suggestion, because we're the ones who should try to put together the action plan in response to your needs and the benefits for staff as well as you. In those minutes, you will see a reference to battery backup in case of an electrical power failure for independent living residents. Some of you are covered by the generators at Anderson, but many of us are not. And this effort has been pursued by the Resiliency Subcommittee of the Facilities Committee led by Bruce King. And there'll be an article in the upcoming connections about that for those of you that might be interested in pursuing that option. It will be a personal decision. However, the approach has been reviewed and approved by staff here to make sure technically it's competent. With that, I would like to go ahead and pursue the real substance of this meeting, and that is with staff.
I say. Good morning. Just a observation. So since last time we got together, we had a virtual cruise. We had gnomes. Yesterday we had a Mardi Gras party. We had a party in the evening. It was a parade in the morning. And then we also had quite a bit of winter weather. So cold and the snow event, but just wanted to publicly praise and thank our staff for the effort they put into it really was great. It was a great show of teamwork and effort, and really appreciate it. So a few announcements. Next week on the 25th at 11 o'clock right here in Kendall Hall, we'll have a town hall meeting. So I plan to provide some updates on use of 600 Hall, the apartment building HVAC repair projects, some staffing updates, and probably some other things. So I look forward to having some dialogue there. So a lot of present what's going on. Happy to take questions and have some back and forth on that then. So look forward to seeing people there if you're willing to come out. A little bit of an update right now on the apartment building heating and cooling. We are meeting later today with the engineers to review concepts for the repair. And we hope to have a quick decision on that, and that will put them into full design mode. So we are still on track to get that project started late spring, early summer. Also, just another update, CFO search. I think we've talked about this a few times. We will begin a round of in-person interviews later next week. So we'll start to have some candidates on campus and interview them in person, give them tours. So we're getting closer. We had a whole set of interviews, phone screenings, Zoom interviews, in-person interviews. We had a candidate. The candidate accepted a job in Richmond at a much bigger organization for much more money than we were offering. So good, we're happy for him, but sad for us. So, and just lastly, next week, I'll be away for a little bit, going to Newark for my second Kendall Leadership Forum. The first was the first week I worked for you guys. So, but nonetheless, those are some updates. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has anything directly for me now, or I'll just turn it over to Sarah. All right, thank you, friends. Hope to see you Wednesday. Sarah.
Good morning. All right, if you all got to celebrate Mardi Gras with us yesterday, we had a wonderful turnout for the parade. We ended up with 33 people and 2 dogs in the parade. So if you missed it, we're going to do it again next year. Come out. With that, I would like to introduce Sharon as a new promotion. Sharon is now taking over Cheyenne's role. Cheyenne went on to do real estate, so we're proud of her, but sorry that she left. Sharon will now be the move-in and renovation coordinator. So if you've not had the privilege of working with Sharon, please congratulate her, and she'll be out there on your way out. Other than that, we are still fully occupied and reserved. We have 3 approved, 2 couples and a single that are all approved. So things are going well. I'll turn it over to Kevin.
I thought about bringing my Mardi Gras mask today, but I have to keep it in good shape now that I know we're doing it again next year. Well, since the last Residents Association meeting on January 21st, Chris and I had 9 tours and meetings with folks from Southport, North Carolina, Oakton, Virginia, and 7 different individuals and couples from Lexington. We added 3 new waitlist members, all couples this time, 1 each from Lexington, Richmond, and Fort Bragg, California. And I looked it up. There really is a city in California called Fort Bragg. That brings us year to date to 6 new waitlist members in 2026. Total waitlist is now up to 240 couples and singles, 75 of whom say they're ready now. And we're currently 98% occupied, 99% reserved for occupancy. Our first move-in of 2026 is an internal move, and it's happening right now. Beth Knapp is moving this week from apartment 116 to apartment 102. The apartment she's moving out of is already reserved by a local waitlist couple. The next apartment we will begin marketing soon is apartment 15. Marge Cheryl's family is in the process of moving out her furniture and other possessions, so we aren't able to start showing it yet, but it won't take long to find new residents when we do start showing it. Upcoming move-ins on April 30th, Ted and Tina Ingalls from Oakton, Virginia will move into 182 Sycamore Lane. On May 7th, Tina Wiley from Southport, North Carolina will move into apartment 316 North. And on May 28th, Ann and Kent Massey from Lexington will move into apartment 116 South. And we'll be swinging back into our very busy tour season soon. So as always, thanks to all of you for making our tour guests and our tribe visitors feel welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. How are you all today? Good? All right. Well, I have just a couple updates for today. So we have a dietitian. She is on site 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays. She's primarily, of course, focused in Borden. She'll address assisted living as needed, and then we'll see what happens as she gets acclimated and raring to go. But she is delightful. Her name is Kim. and her last name starts with a W, and I'm not going to try and say it because I'm not going to pronounce it right, and then you'll have the wrong name in your name. So I'll get it out in writing. How about that? So Kim is here today. She's on site Wednesdays and Thursdays each week. So she can be at risk meetings and care plan meetings and things like that. So if you have any questions or specific needs for her, feel free to communicate through me, and we'll work to getting her on some kind of plan and schedule. But as right now, she's focused on Borden and getting up to speed in our clinical side of where we track everything. If you've noticed, our grab and go cooler is finally back up and running. I apologize for it being down so long, but when it's under warranty, I refuse to spend our own money when they can fix it. So sometimes that just takes a little longer. So I appreciate your patience with that. And then we are currently, our news for the day is we're working on the next cycle menu. So our goal this year, so we've been on a 3 cycle a year cycle. So we run a 4-week cycle for 4 months. And the goal for this year is to get our 4-week cycle on a 3-month cycle. And then we have our monotony breakers. So yesterday we had Mardi Gras. In March, we have St. Patrick's Day. In April, we have Easter and a breakfast all day. So we've got an entire list. There's like 28 things on it of all different kinds of special somethings that we'll do to help break those cycles up. So that's all coming. I don't have a date yet to start, but I am absolutely in March. It just depends how fast that I can get work done so Michael can get to his part. So he's waiting on me. It's not him, it's me, but I'll get there. And then other than that, just be patient with us when you see us in weird places. So Kelsey Deacon is in Webster this morning, and Petra and Rachel have been in Borden. So we're all over the place covering our shortages, but more people out sick, and we don't want people here when they're sick. So we appreciate your patience with that too. Any questions for me? Okay. No. Yes to dining, no to Kendall. So Remington has switched into a life enrichment role. So he is part of activities now and enjoying that. So that's where some of our shortages. So, we say that we're short staffed, but so one of our dietary aides became a CNA. One of our dietary aides has moved to environmental services. And these are all things that we knew when we hired them, and we don't want to lose good people. So we're happy to bring people in knowing that they're going to go somewhere else eventually. And Remington has done one of those moves too. So they're all really good things for Kendall, even if they're not quite as good for us. Any other questions? Right. So I should stop that so I can keep my people. No, just kidding. I wouldn't do that. No, we want people to grow, and we never want to hold people back from something that's exciting for them and something they really want to do. So that's our goal. We'll continue to do that. And I imagine not too long down the road, we'll have someone else who's ready to take the next step, and we'll transition again. Other questions for me? All right, thank you so much. And you know how to get a hold of me. We're gonna switch on the schedule mainly, so he doesn't have to follow fun stuff. What do you think, Bob? Can we do that?
I can do it.
All right, good morning. I am not going to do my regular list of everything, project updates. This is my once a year charts and graphs. So I've got my PowerPoint, I've got my laser pointer, so buckle up. There we go. All right, for 2025, I'm going to go through all the different summaries of different metrics and things that affect facilities and a lot of our operations for 2025. The first one is our waste trend. We are down from our all-time peak. We're holding about 20% below that, and a little over 200 tons of stuff goes out of here to the landfill every year. We pay by the pound every single thing that goes out here. So dropping that from a high of 270 to a high of this year of 214 is really good. So I'm really happy with that. You can see we've been leveled off and holding at that point for a while, so I'll consider that a success. There's always room for improvement there. That represents about $31,000 in landfill fees. So it is significant. All right, our water usage, we had a high of almost 8.5 million gallons. We came down, and then we spiked back up, but we got that fixed and came back down. So we're down to just a little over 7 million gallons a year. We're down about 15% from our all-time high. That is also very good. The uptick there was due to a whole bunch of irrigation stuff going on. And we kind of adjusted some policies and had some discussions with folks to be a little more prudent in that, because that is a very expensive thing for us. The city and county water here is among the most expensive in the state to fund those localities because their two biggest tenants are tax exempt. So everyone else who has a toilet or a sink is where they have to fund their local government from. So that's what we do. So again, that's pretty good. I think I have 15 more slides. These are the two good news ones. I should probably maybe stop there. This one's kind of generic though. So before I get into gas and electricity and things like that, I always talk about the weather because it certainly matters a lot to those things. 2025 was a cooler year than usual. Cooler summer and colder winter than usual. That's good for our electricity, not so good for our natural gas. Pretty significant difference though, between over 7%, almost 8% for our summer being below average. Comes into play when we're talking to the other stuff later. So I just throw that up as a little bit of background. All right, our electricity usage. The top graph there is each month, and it cycles up and down, and it's usually a pretty standard sine looking wave, not so much anymore. The bottom graph is the important one. That is a rolling 12-month total. So every one of those data points has a January, has a July. So it makes it very easy to see trends and talk apples to apples. We had an all-time high peak of well over 3.6 million kilowatt hours, very high. And we got down to almost 10% below that as our all-time. We have ticked back up. We're still below our all-time high though. And you can see when it started ticking up there. Anybody know what happened in the fall or early winter of late 2024? Our VRF HVAC system decided it didn't want to work anymore. So that upward trend I can address with two words. Anybody know what they are? Space heaters. That is largely the impact of space heaters. Space heaters are the most inefficient, most way to heat anywhere. With the system being down, that has contributed to our electricity coming back up as well. Still below our all-time peak, and you can see it has leveled off. This is kind of our new normal until we get that fixed. There's a 1-year ratchet from Dominion, so we will be paying the demand fees for that, and I'll come back to that in a few more slides, for a year after it's fixed. So some pretty significant financial ramifications for us. Natural gas. Okay. Bottom chart is our yearly steady ticking down as we insulated and fixed a lot of the attics around here. And then Columbia Gas put a new meter in, and they said our previous meter wasn't working right. That meter is the third meter. So they replaced the meter back in here, and then they did it again. And their argument is, oh, all that other earlier stuff is wrong, and you're actually owe us all this money. Give us all your money, basically. We disagree with that. We are not using that much gas, but I've appealed it. They've come looked at it. I don't have an argument to make on that, but we are getting rid of that meter in those pipelines, and that issue will go away. I think they're charging us a whole lot more for gas that we're not actually using through our Sycamore Lane master meter. But you can see a huge increase happened right away, and then it has leveled off as well. 46% increase over our previous all-time high. So when I get to the charts that show the utilities budget, you'll see this again. See, is Felicia in here? Okay, good. She throws things at me. You've seen this picture before. I show it just to show that there are some things we can do that fix this and make a big difference. This was the first house we did the attic insulation in, and we had not gotten to that one yet. Why is that snow melted? because their furnace is heating the world, not their house, right? Whereas in here, it's staying where it's supposed to be, so the roof is cold and the snow's not melting. We've done over 120,000 square feet of attic space now. This particular one has its own meter, so I can track it. You can see that's where we put it in. It leveled off a 20% decrease in natural gas usage per space where we've done that. So that has paid huge dividends. When we get the meter and pipeline issue resolved with Columbia Gas, this is going to pay off across the board for all the rest of the property. Very, very good news. So it's hard to compare a kilowatt hour of electricity to a cubic foot of natural gas. So I convert it both into their representative energy, which is kBTUs, 1,000 BTUs. Red is our electricity, yellow is our natural gas. Historically, we have a very even 50-50 split of what our energy mix here looks like. And then Columbia Gas did that to us, and it has leveled up. Overall energy usage up almost 24%. And it's all in that natural gas consumption thing. That is going to be fixed. I shudder to think what it would be if we had not insulated 100,000 square feet of our attic spaces and things like that here. So there's a fix in the works for this. I think that trend is going to come back down and continue the slow downward we were working on by fixing leaks, correcting insulation, stuff like that. All right, you may remember in the past years, the Sustainability Committee and some other folks put out some peak alerts saying, hey, it's a really hot day, electricity is going to be very expensive, and it's going to settle an all-time ratchet for us. We have not done that again since the VRF system because the blue line is what the space heaters have done to our peak demand. We got our peak demand significantly down from 22 to 23. Late 24, you can see December 23rd, that blue line was caused by space heaters. When we did it again, that's January 23rd of last year, almost 800 kilowatts of demand, down from very close to 700 kilowatts of demand. That's a big deal. We pay about, I think it's $14 per kilowatt per month as a demand ratchet. So that has big financial implications to our utility budget, and it will last a year after we fix it. So if your stuff isn't working, a space heater is the right answer. It's really the only answer we have. Please don't run 15 space heaters at max when you're not there. You know, we can still use what we're using prudently. So that's all the energy side of things. Turning that into dollars, this is the utilities budget. I started when that's when I got here. I didn't go back beyond that. Red and blue. Blue is what we were supposed to spend, and then either red or green is where we stand on the budget. A little bit over budget, a couple percent. Got it under control with the insulating and doing all that in 2023. 2024, heck yeah, this is great. I'm going to get a big raise. Everyone loves it. Oh no. And then that happened. So, and then it continued. You can see we finished 2025 $120,000 over budget on utilities. That's a pretty big hit on a $600,000 budget. You know, it's not going $20 over on a $5,000 bill. Going $100,000 over on a $600,000 bill is a pretty big hit. So we ended 18% over budget on utilities. Again, all in natural gas pretty much. I kind of summarized that here. You can see our splits from 2021 through 2025 of the three utilities that I run, gas, electricity, and then water and sewer. Pretty consistent on water and sewer. Electricity ticked up, but gas, you can see what it did. And then you can see the percentage. It's eaten a bigger part of the pie for that as well. And then there's the difference for 2025. Fixes are in the works, and we did get Felicia to plus up the budget this year. So the number will be big, but at least it might be green. Comparing energy is really hard. You try to say, well, we're using this much gas or this much electricity. So I try to convert them back to make it equivalent. We're actually pretty fortunate, and this is the one that matters. Natural gas is still roughly 1/2 the price of electricity for the same amount of energy. So had this problem been on the electricity side of the house, it would have been a double whammy. We would have had the usage increase and the rate is so much more. Natural gas is pretty inexpensive for us right now. So if we're going to have a utility to have this problem in, that's the best one for us in terms of the implications to it. And you can see it's held pretty steady, roughly half, and then per kilowatt hour, we average just under 10 cents kilowatt hour, which those of us private houses were probably 15 to 20 cents kilowatt hour. Pretty reasonable in the big picture. So then everything that's not utilities goes into this budget for us on the facilities ops side. So this is every roll of toilet paper, every repair, labor hours, all these things get piled into this. And we were a little over budget and finished a little over budget because a lot of stuff just kept breaking and everything. Kind of got that under control. So finally in 2025, we ended up under budget, and it was really two things. One is I told Kenny, no, you can't buy that because I got to pay the Columbia gas bill. And the other thing was a lot of this has been fixed with capital now. So when a major thing goes wrong, I actually pushed it over to the capital budget and said, listen, we fixed this boiler 87 times. It's time to get a new boiler. The new boiler comes out of the capital budget, whereas the 87 repair attempts would come out of this budget. So a lot of these we've tried to do it once, do it right. It's a little more expensive sometimes, but it has really helped us get back on track for this. And it helped us balance things out, save some money here to pay the utility. Work order trend, I started tracking our work order backlog in early 2023. It was horrific. And so now we meet every 2 weeks. And we go through everything that's 2 weeks older, 2 weeks old or older. I don't look at stuff for the first 2 weeks because there's a fair bit of churn. Our standard turnaround for a non-emergency is still 2-3 days. It just takes a while. We're booked up for the next day or two, even if something comes in today saying it has to be done. If it's an emergency, then I have to cancel something that they were doing for another resident today and pull them to something else. So we have a couple days of churn all the time, and I really don't look until it's about 2 weeks old. You can see what happens when if someone goes out for a surgery or a vacation or something like that. We actually notice it when there's disruption to the team. The team is stable right now. We're holding pretty steady for a good while now on things. Very happy with that. 2025 had some pretty big projects. A whole lot got done, but some did not. The open ones, we put a pause on the wayfinding project. We did the exterior wayfinding with the 911 folks. So we have some external addressing to speed them up. But we did not do new signage pending any kind of strategic planning guidance. The fire panels and upgrades are almost done now. That was a 25 project, but it bled into 26. I think there's 6 or 8 alarms and annunciators in Borden that they just emailed me finally arrived today. So the wire's hanging down with a wire nut on it. That will actually be a device here. And then Friday or Monday, they'll be back. That'll be done. Adam talked about the VRF project. Our next design meeting for that is actually today. And then we had a couple big painting projects that we stalled and delayed as well. 2026, several big ones, the VRF we've talked about, the gas line I've talked about, roofing phase 4. The remainder of the houses on the west side of Sycamore will be getting new roofs. They're due as well. That project moves on. And then transition management for me. Kenny has settled into the maintenance manager position very well. So soon I'll dump even more stuff on him because I'll be retiring this summer. Oh, and that's my list. All right, so I talked really fast, but I didn't want to hog the entire meeting. So that was my charts and graphs. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am. The question was, what about the exterior window washing? I have a contract with a gentleman. Last time we did it in the fall, he was not available. We reached back out and he said, yeah, well, let's look at the March, April timeframe. We'll get them done in the spring before we get into mowing season. So that's not coming up soon. I don't have an exact date yet, but I've been talking to the contractor. Yes, sir.
2 things if I can remember them. One, you mentioned 100,000 square feet of insulation put in. How much more is there to do?
The question on the attic insulation was that we've done a little over 100,000 square feet. The total property here is just shy of 400,000 square feet, but bunches of it is several stories. And I don't think the people in the 100 level want me adding stuff to their ceiling because there's someone above it. We're a little over halfway, I think, in terms of what's actually available. So I would say we're at the 55, maybe 60% complete rate in terms of the accessible attics we can add insulation to.
And the second is, you talk about the peak demand issues, but would you comment on just peak cost during peak hours versus non-peak? Because I think there's not enough awareness that doing things on evenings and weekends saves us a noticeable amount of money.
Yes, the question was about that peak reduction program. So at a private residence in the county, you have a meter and it's an odometer, basically. They look at it once a month and they see how much energy has flowed through it, and then they send you a bill for that. Large commercial properties aren't like that. Yes, we have an odometer. They look at how much energy we use. but they also look at how much we use at any one given time. Because if we use a zillion units of electricity in a month, but we use it all in 1 hour, they need a big power plant and a big distribution system to support that huge spike. They call that their peak demand. So they look at what we charge, what we use, and when. Therefore, the electricity we use during the week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. is more expensive than the electricity we use nights and weekends. Actually, weekends and holidays actually aren't peak times. So a lot of folks, like in the sustainability community, have talked about, hey, our routine laundry loads and running the dryer and stuff like that. A weekend is a much more inexpensive time for us to do that than if everybody does it on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., which is generally when the electricity is most expensive, late in the afternoon, later in the week, except in the winter with space heaters. Then it's 6 in the morning on a Monday. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Comment, not question. Yesterday, we had Anthony and Timmy came over and did our preventive maintenance, and I would just like to compliment them. They did a very professional, very thorough job, and we appreciate that.
Great, thank you. So the comment was about the preventive maintenance program that we started after lots of effort and discussions for a lot of years about that. We have one gentleman who's a facilities guy who is our PM tech. What I try to have him do is 2 days a week with a helper. So I use 4 man days out of a single guy's 5-day week. Have him scheduled to go out and check dryer vents, change filters, do the military calls it the 10-level maintenance, the basic homeowner level, swapping things out to make sure they're working efficiently. It makes them all the stuff last longer, and it saves us money. The schedule that's set up, by Friday, he will have finished all but 3 on Sunrise Ridge. So we will have made a pretty big dent. It's a little harder to schedule than we thought it would be, but what isn't, right? So we're moving in the right direction on that. All right, any other questions for me? All right, I'll shut up, I think.
Sorry, I'm late to the party. So I am thrilled though to announce that the clinic will be back at normal operations in its normal location beginning Monday next week. And we will send out an email with the hours because they vary, and give Brooke Campbell, LPN, give you her email and contact information. And Brooke's here to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brooke Campbell. I've been a nurse over the past 8 years. I've been fortunate to work at Kendall here for the past 3 in the Webster Center. And I'm really excited to meet all of you. I know I've met some of you, but definitely not all of you. But I'm really excited to meet you. And if you guys need anything, my office is always open. Email me, contact me. If you can't get with me, get with Adam, but that won't happen. But it's really great to meet you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, speaking of the clinic, we'll do a quick health update. You guys have been partying a lot recently, between cruises and Mardi Gras parties. But thankfully, in independent living and in Webster, there are no reported concerns at this time. So please continue to do preventative measures. Washing hands in particularly. In Borden, we do still have outbreak protocol. We have 3 residents on isolation for COVID. We began that on January 27th, and essentially what outbreak protocol means is, everybody in that area wears the mask. You will see signs. There will be supplies available. If a resident isn't on isolation, they are able to, go out into the community. They've just been quote unquote exposed. So we do, require or ask them to wear a mask if they're out and about, again, utilizing the preventative measures. Also, what that means is that we do random testing. So from until we have 0 residents with COVID living, we'll test every 5 to 7 days. believe it or not, multiple residents have tested positive who had no symptoms. So just to be mindful of that. We have had a couple of staff members. In addition, we had the Virginia Department of Health come this past Friday. It's the Central Shenandoah Epidemiology Department. They came and had a conversation with us, reviewed what we're doing in our practices, and they're very complimentary, very positive feedback for how we are handling the outbreak. They are putting together a report for some educational type of purposes that we can take. They looked at areas of which high touch areas in which we're cleaning, so gave feedback, checked our chemicals, making sure that they are kills COVID supplies, and so we'll receive that report. But overall, they're very positive and just generally great to work with, and so we'll continue to do that in the future. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
General population is probably
Yeah, so the question being in independent living in particular, how do we track that? Yes, it is 100%, either working with us to get a test or just reporting symptoms, in which many of you have over the past several weeks, and none have been reported there. But in general, again, regionally, flu is still very prevalent in the area, along with COVID. So please, again, use preventative measures, take your vitamins, all that fun stuff. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adam, for that C&E update. I do have a couple more items, however. I'm happy to report that during the last 30 days, the bus has brought back everybody that they took. We try to keep tabs on that. Now, we do a count and make sure we have the same number of people on the bus when it comes back from the event that we had going. Now, whether it's the same people or not, I'm not sure, because we'll have to work on that. But anyway, I think we're doing a good job on that. February, we're almost done with February, but we're doing dining out tomorrow, but there's no room on the bus. So hopefully everybody will enjoy Gina's. We've been there before. Then on Saturday, we're going to Buena Vista, the Southern Virginia University, for their play Fly. It's called Fly. It's not the animal, but it talks about women aviators back in the 1930s. And there's no room on the bus. So sorry about that. However, on next Tuesday, Catherine Brown has agreed to give another talk on her many travels throughout Europe, whatever. And she called it Meandering Through Moravia. I had to look up where it's Moravia. It happened to be in the Czech Republic. I think she got lost in Moravia, but she calls it meandering. So I hope she does give a good talk, and we want to thank her for all the talks that she's done for us. And then on next Friday, we're going to Wayne Theater once again to Jane Austen's Persuasion. We have 3 more openings for that if you want to go to that. So, and then next month in March, luckily, most of the events in March are at Washington Lee University, and most of them are free. So that's a good reason why you want to sign up for the bus. And so in most cases, all the things at Washington Lee are free. We will do a dining out at Napa Thai. We've done that before. That's an excellent restaurant in town. We do have one lecture next month. Robin Potter is going to talk about getting lost in the Amazon and finding her way back. So that's way into the end of the month. I did post the sign up for the Beach Boy concert tribute at the Masonic Theater in Clifton Forge, which is not until the 28th, but I posted that early because that's pretty, people who want to get involved, sign up for that. We do have one more slot for that if you want to sign up for that, the Beach Boy concert at the Masonic Theater. Anyway, that's what's going on in March and February. We thank you people for signing up for these events. And just a reminder, if you just sign up and you decide you can't go for whatever reason, please erase your name. Do not write up in ink because it's hard to erase ink names, but erase your name. And then I will move people that are on the waiting list up to that list, up to the bus as well. So we keep the bus always fully a full bus for them. Anyway, thank you very much. Do I have anybody else follow? Oh, yes. Dr. Hardin Marion is next. Did I get that right? Esquire.
I know you've been working on that for the last month. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to take a look back and then a look ahead this morning. We finished our last program 2 weeks ago. Has it really been 2 weeks since Susan Mead finished her talking about Appalachia? But I have a postscript to start with, a story about her father. Many of you know or knew her father when he was alive. He died last year, shortly before, or maybe after she'd agreed to do a program here. Otis Mead was a character, and because many of you know him, let me tell you a story he told me once. Otis grew up west of here, I think in Clifton Forge, and he went to Hampton-Sydney College for his education. He would be the first to tell you that he was no scholar. But one day, Otis, in his 6th year at Hampton-Sydney, he got called into the president's office, and the president chatted with Otis for a little while and then told him, "Otis, you've set a record." He said, "You have been the person who has been a student in residence for the longest time without any conceivable chance of graduating from this unit." So he invited Otis to leave. Otis left. He ended up in Lexington. He did several things, but he found real estate to be his forte. Far as I'm concerned, he was the king of real estate in Lexington for a long time. He sold Heather and me our house on Providence Hill and brought us from Baltimore to Lexington in 2000. That's another story. I won't go into that. But I could not close out something to do with Mead without a reference to Otis and the story that he told me one night here. Now, looking forward, our next program starts next Wednesday. Adam Day has the morning for his, what does he call it? Town Hall. There you go. He has the morning, but the afternoon at 4:30, we will begin our next Kendall College program. It will run for 3 Wednesdays. The speaker is a retired Colonel David Gray from VMI, who is the executive director of VMI's Center for Leadership and Ethics. And he's going to talk about a subject that I don't know that we've ever had. If we have, it's been a long, long time ago, and that's military leadership. He's going to talk about, in his first program next Wednesday, Alexander the Great. He's going to use famous generals as case studies in each of his talks. The second week will be, he'll talk about Generals Pershing and Marshall back during the 20th century. And then for his final program, he'll talk about General David Petraeus. They will all be interesting and fascinating. I'm sure you'll want to hear them, so I encourage you to start. Some of you, I know, have already paid your annual fee and will be here. And for those who are doing it program by program, $10 a piece for admission to the 3 programs. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hardin. I'd describe this last part of our program as being reaching out and thanking. Thanking you, thanking our staff, thanking our board of directors, thanking everyone. I would like to first of all thank our extraordinary staff. We think it was mostly facilities, but there was a lot of other people involved in dealing with the snow and ice we had. And as we lived through that with their help, and we occasionally left our campus was beautiful and everything else was a mess. So thank you so much for our staff for everything they uniquely did. Next, I would like to introduce Mary Cooling to give us a few words on the Fellowship Fund.
Thank you. When you and I, all of us, began thinking about and then actually choosing a retirement community, the reasons were primarily, did I not do it right?
Let's make sure our remote.
I'm
folks
too
can see
short.
you.
Okay. The reasons were primarily for ourselves. We were looking for an attractive, comfortable living situation, one floor, living space we could manage, as well as provision for at least some meals, transportation, housekeeping assistance, and occasional backup medical help when necessary. Then we arrived and found ourselves a part of a vibrant, interesting, compatible community. People from many different places with whom we enjoyed eating meals, who, like us, sought stimulating activities, appreciated a varied and ever-growing library, and found pleasure in shared lectures, concerts, and exercise. And finally, we have found ourselves moving beyond being an interesting community to becoming, in a real sense, a kind of family. As we care deeply about our friends, check on their health, sympathize when they fall, and learn that they have an unexpected medical emergency. It is with this threefold aspect of our lives that I ask you to consider your gift to the Fellowship Fund this spring. Appreciation and a personal pat on the back for having chosen Kendall. Gratitude for having been a part of this interesting group of people. And finally, deep concern about those of our Kendall family who suddenly may find themselves in unexpected financial circumstances. That's what the Kendall Fellowship Fund is here for, to help tide over those among us who face such emergencies. And let's not forget that it was extraordinary generosity that made our Kendall at Lexington possible, at least in terms of timing. Certainly, we would not have had the opportunity to move into an established, well-planned, well-connected retirement community as early as we did if it had not been for the extraordinary gift from Isabel and Fred Bartenstein of these 80 acres and a fine old house, plus the days and months and even years of unpaid time and thinking and organizing by a thoughtful, generous volunteer board. I hope you will consider all these reasons when you sit down to write your check. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was supposed to do that the first time. I would like to ask Captain Vic Crane to come up, please. I'm now going to defer to Mary Rain Paxton, who would like to remotely say a few words in Vic's behalf.
Bob say the best. Oh, yes. At Kendall, there's a young man named Vic. We've yet to know what makes him tick. He's energetic, creative, and smart. It must be Sue who's closest to his heart. He took us on a 3-day cruise to Spain, to Italy, to France, to Greece, and to Spain. Outside there was snow and ice and even some rain. We danced, we watched movies, we ate appropriate food. There were activities for every mood. A captain, though he may now be, we're promoting him to admiral.
No more White House. Admiral Vic Crane. As those who make these very challenging decisions about promoting somebody, Vic has been so responsive to questions of those of us who participated in the cruise and hadn't done it before. One of the questions was, how often do cruise ships sink? Vic's answer, once.
And we didn't have any lifeboats.
That's right. Thank you so much, Vic. And I would like to tell you that we're having an Admiral's promotion party next Tuesday evening. And Vic will be hosting it. It will be in the social area of Borden's 600 wing, and will sort of supplement conversations. Look forward to seeing you all there. Does anybody have anything other than to thank Vic and his team, staff, marketing, everybody who helped put that together, because we loved it. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments? And our secretary was so thrilled because we're going to end 5 minutes early. Paul.
I forgot to mention that that the Wayne Theater will have the Vienna Boys Choir. It's on Monday, March 2nd. However, we are not sponsoring a bus for that. It's very expensive. It's I think $71 if you want to sit in an orchestra. But if anybody wants to go to the Wayne Theater on March 2nd, which is a Monday, and buy a ticket, I can give you more information, but it'll be on your own. That the committee will not sponsor a bus there. But those of us who have seen the Vienna Boys Choir, it's well worth it if you have the opportunity and time and money that you want to spend for that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Look forward to your input. As a resident council, we want to listen to what you question. We want to listen to what you suggest. Thank you very much. See you next month.